Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, he's the content director for Barrett Sports Media, Demetri Ravanos. You just heard the
very
clip.
Good.
I tried. We just heard the clip of Skip and Shannon, where Shannon Sharpe is clearly over Skip right now. Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
Or is he? You wrote about this on Barrett Sports Media, and you and I have texted about this, and this is yet another angle to what happened with Hamlin, in that this has affected people in such a way that how we typically go about things isn't working. And it seems to have really broken Skip Bayless this week for a tweet that I didn't find all that offensive, but clearly people have their issues with Skip and they used it as a chance to jump on him, and he does not know how to react.
Yeah, I wrote about this on Wednesday. I agree with you. I think in the bubble of the moment, it was easy to think, oh, look at this, bleep head. He is more concerned about finishing a football game than he is about the health of the guy that literally just died on the field. But I think that's wrapped up in the emotions we were all feeling in the moment. I think the further you get away, you look at Skip Bayless's tweet, and it's clear to me anyway that what he was saying was, I can't imagine finishing this game, but that is somebody's job to figure this out, and it just doesn't matter. I think it's clear what his intention was, but to your point about what has broken Skip, what I think Skip has never really understood is when you are the face of the hot take industry, so to speak, people don't view individual instances on their own, right? Like, the reason that Skip got such a strong reaction is because it is the same guy that said Mike McCarthy is too fat to coach the Dallas Cowboys. It is the same guy that said Dak Prescott crying over his brother's suicide makes him an ineffective leader in an NFL locker room. It is the same guy that just last month screamed at Shannon Sharpe that his NFL career wasn't good enough because it was some weird fanboy support of a guy that wouldn't spit on Skip Bayless if he were on fire.
Right. I think we broke Giglio.
Well, I was actually prepared to ask a question, and then you're right. I got sidetracked. The thing about Skip Bayless to me, Demetri, is he's a con. And there's a lot of, and I respect the hustle. Please don't take this the wrong way. And I'm hesitant to even do this segment about him because I just don't care about Skip Bayless and what he does. And I feel like what Shannon Sharpe is doing now is performative, right? And I mean, what is he really upset about? What is Shannon Sharpe truly upset about at this point?
Professionalism at this point.
But again, it gets back to the point of the tweet and the message, and it's like, well, the tweet actually wasn't all that bad. There are many reasons to not like Skip Bayless. He is a con, okay? The whole thing with Troy Aikman, you didn't even mention his greatest hit,
Right.
Insinuating that Troy Aikman's
insinuating
gay.
and flat out saying that he was gay when it's not the case. So, to me, there are many reasons to not like.
I'm sorry, Giglio. I was only working within the context of what happened literally in the last year.
No. I forgive you for overlooking his greatest hit, if you will. To me, there's a lot of reasons not to like Skip Bayless. Let's just put it that way. This is not one of them to me, though. So, I'm letting you in behind the show when he said, we're going to talk about Skip Bayless. And I'm just kind of like, okay.
Well, the reason why I wanted to talk to Demetri, who's joining us, he's the content director for Barrett Sports Media. It is your job to analyze our business. It's as simple as that. And I'm trying to bring a conversation that you and I usually have over beers into the air so people understand what's going on here. And I am curious, what is the usefulness of these shows now that we're in 2023? I have a working pet theory that a lot of these shows that exist on Fox Sports 1, that exist on ESPN, are only subsidized by the relationships they have with the leagues that they broadcast, and that the only thing that's ultimately keeping them on the air is something has to be on at the bar. Something has to be on at the airport. Something has to be on while you're at the gym, staring into this closed captioning while you're on the treadmill, and that nobody really watches these shows. They're just on in the background, and that as we get into a more non-linear world of television, I'm not sure how long these shows have in the grand scheme of things.
It's cable furniture.
I mean, that's a really good point. I wish I could remember who it was that described PTI as the longest running show America experiences exclusively in airport bars.
Right.
But I think that your point is an interesting one. Obviously, look, the reason you guys have a show on 99.9, the reason any show is on anywhere is to sell the advertising space, right?
Yes.
I think if you go all the way back to 2001, I think it is fair to say Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon proved that this formula, it is capable to build a rapport with an audience and create loyalty. I think that is fair. I do think that the landscape is oversaturated at this point. I made the point in the column that I wrote that, part of the disconnect for Skip Bayless now, or part of I think what has made the performance so over the top at this point, is he put himself behind the 8 ball. Yes, FS1 is paying him way more than he was ever going to make at ESPN, but Undisputed doesn't get as many viewers as First Take. And as a result of everything that comes with being on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith gets to be part of the NBA. He gets to have a late night talk show on ESPN Plus. Those opportunities are never going to be there for Skip Bayless because Fox is not interested in the digital expansion that other networks have been. Whether or not that's a good idea is a debate for a different day. Whether or not there is place for these shows as we progress, I do think that you can say something very similar about these shows that I have said to our friends that work in music radio before. When I ask them what the hell is the point of your job, they like to remind me that we take for granted that everybody has Spotify. I think we take for granted that so many people are making the move to a digital on-demand world when it comes to video entertainment. That's not to discount the number of people that are, but I do think that there is going to be a place for linear television, and it gets back to your original point, Joe. Something's got to be on.
Yeah, look, I mean, I know with radio, it's the easiest thing to listen to in your car while you're waiting to pick up your kid at the carpool. We dominate that carpool demographic, baby. Let's go. I get that, but you talk about the digital aspect of it. We also have to expand into other ways because yes, Spotify does exist.
Well,
I certainly don't act like Spotify doesn't exist.
That's why all of these shows are, they're video shows, right? But they all have availability via podcast. I mean, regardless of the network, they are all podcasts as well. And it's what you've said a million times, Joe, is that it's sports radio on television.
Demetri, Ravanos.
Why not both?
I got it right this time.
The last one.
It's the last one. Yeah, I know. It's a recurring bit now. Sorry.
I know. I like it.
Demetri, content director for Barrett Sports Media. We'll close on this. Do you think that this week is it for Skip Bayless? Like this was it?
So I'm going to circle back on Giglio's assertion there. I don't think that Shannon Sharpe is being performative. I think he's exaggerating for sure for cameras, but I think it's clear that they do not like each other. I think that there is something in Skip's brain that is broken, that cannot recognize that the whole world is not an act and these things have real world consequences. I actually was thinking about this today after the two had their blow up. Like, you don't have to fire either of them, but clearly they can't work together anymore. Like, you've lost credibility with whatever audience you still had credibility with for that show. And I don't even know what that is. But no, I don't think this is it for Skip Bayless. I do think this is probably, if not over at the end of the week, I think we are on the road to the end of Undisputed for sure. Okay. Demetri, appreciate the time, man. Check out his stuff, Barrett Sports Media, if you want to get into industry discussions. Because I do think that this ties into how Hamlin, the injury, and how everything played out on Monday Night Football has rewired how we think about a lot of things. Nothing is normal in the reaction to this, right down to the hot take artists who usually make their bread and butter on this stuff. Even people are pushing back on that for real this time. Not just the classic, let me dunk on you on Twitter. Like, people are legitimately upset over this. And it's been fascinating to see. On Sunday morning, we are going to have guys openly talking on NFL pregame shows, but whether it's the morning or the evening show on NBC, we're going to have guys openly talking about the reality that we are watching guys put their lives on the line for our entertainment. And I think we've all known this subconsciously, but boy, there was never a more clear picture of that being true than Monday night.
Demetri, appreciate it, man.
Before you leave, Demetri, can we go back and give Walter Cronkite some sort of Barrett Sports Media Award? Because I'm watching this coverage on Monday night thinking to myself, obviously a very serious situation in 2023 and all the communicative tools that we have. You imagine the job Walter Cronkite did the day Kennedy's assassinated? Like,
I mean, it is, it is, I think we think about Cronkite in that way because of the limited scope of television, but think about all the people that were on air live for 9/11. Think about all of the people that were.
But can you name one? Can you name one right now in that signature way? Because I think however this ends, I think we take Scott Van Pelt out of this and go we realize he's now our Walter Cronkite for better or worse.
He'd be our Bob Lee now if we're going to keep
I don't know. I honestly, Joe,
okay.
The NFL, if you think about how big the story is, you also think about the state of news media and where, like, I can't name the 3 anchors right now off the top of my head.
Lester Holt. Shout out to Lester Holt.
So you have a guy who, and I'm just curious. No, but I'm curious, and your quick take on this, Demetri, because I'm sitting here watching the coverage, and I thought Joe Buck was kind of overwhelmed. I thought Susie Colbert was overwhelmed. And if I'm running ESPN, I'm sitting here going, who is my number one guy? I got to get him in the studio right now to handle this situation. And obviously, that ended up being Scott Van Pelt, and he was spectacular.
I don't know if you've read Joe Buck's conversation with Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, but he made the point that, like, at some point, whether he said, there is a version of this that you approach like he called Mark McGwire's 60-second home run. Like, obviously it's not a 1-for-1 thing, but at some point, what can you add to this moment we're all experiencing together? And when all you can add is speculation at a time that does not warrant speculation, I get why he was so quiet. I'll leave you with Tyrone Johnson, who is on the air up in Philadelphia, on his show yesterday, made the point that it was unfair what ESPN asked its broadcast team to do. And it is amazing that they delivered the product they did. And I think that's the best way to characterize it.
Demetri, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Talk to you later.